everyone, welcome back to the I Should Totally Be Dead Right Now podcast, where we tell true stories of survivors of true crime, natural disasters, and everything else in between. How's it going, Michelle?
Good. Woo.
It is now December, it is almost Christmas, and
It's
it's a great
effing
time.
cold outside, is what it is.
Yeah, no, it's true. Well, since it's the holidays, we have our first holiday drink, and it is called it's a long name. It is
I know, I think we
peppermint
should
bark.
just like cut it to peppermint freaking white Russian and be done with it. Sorry. Say
Okay,
the
that's
long
true.
one and then
The
we can
long
talk
name
about it.
is peppermint bark rum chata white Russian, but we'll just call it a peppermint white Russian.
There we go.
And it's really tasty. It's all
It's
booze. There's nothing
yeah,
else.
it's
It's just
super
alcohol.
potent.
Yeah.
I as I'm finding now that my drink is gone, that yeah, it's pretty strong. And it doesn't taste like
hmm
it at all.
No. So what's in it is it's 2 ounces of vodka, 1 ounce of peppermint bark rum chata, and 1 ounce of Kahlua. And it's not very sweet, but is very tasty and very dangerous. Please drink responsible. And that is for you, Michelle.
I know. That felt very judgy and pointed.
No,
I'm gonna
no,
go
these
make
are really
another one
tasty.
right now.
Yeah, right. No, this is very like you want to like snuggle on the couch and watch a Christmas movie. Like it's a perfect
That
drink for
is
that.
like the absolute perfect time for this drink.
Mm-hmm.
Like you've had your dinner already, you're ready for a
Mm-hmm.
little dessert, a little snuggle. Boom. You got a boozy cocktail that you'll
Yeah.
probably want to go take a nap after.
Exactly. Yeah. You don't have to go anywhere. It's time to stay home. So.
Yeah. Probably a fire would be very nice in this
Oh,
situation. Some warm blankets.
that sounds
I
nice.
want a fireplace.
Sorry.
Yeah. I can dream.
Have you seen those heated driveways?
No,
Yeah, people have heated driveways. So when it snows, they just turn it on and the snow melts.
I would like that.
That's
Why
a
aren't
new
all of
level
our
of
roads
richness.
heated?
What?
Why aren't all of our roads heated?
Oh, I know, right?
My God, that would be delightful.
Right? Seriously. All right.
I feel like
What?
you've made it in the world when you have a heated driveway.
Yeah, I know. That's what I said.
Fine.
It's a new level of richness that
I didn't even know existed.
too funny.
Whatever.
Well, should we get into it?
Yeah.
All right.
I'm
So
ready to
this
rock and
story.
roll. Sorry. Oh, I keep interrupting you. I'm so sorry, Caitlin.
What
Try
else
to
is new,
stop.
Michelle? I'm just kidding.
Okay, I'm done.
It's okay. Okay, here we go. So this story is about Simon Hattenstone. So it is 2014, and Simon is a reporter in the UK,
Okay.
and he gets an interview with Gordon Brown, who was the UK Prime Minister.
Okay. So this is a big deal. He's
Yeah.
pretty. Oh, I was just say he's a got to be a well-known reporter if he's freaking interviewing the prime
Mm,
minister.
right. So he had to travel to meet with him, so he is not close to home at the
Okay.
time. But this interview didn't go well.
Oh no.
Uh, I guess Gordon has a reputation for having a temper, and that sure came out during the interview.
Oh dear.
When Simon asked about Iraq, that was a soft spot for him, and he wanted to talk about the Scottish referendum. So they got into a heated argument about what the interview is supposed to be about, and what forth.
Oh my
So
goodness.
once the heated argument and interview was over, Simon ends up going to Glasgow Curry House to eat and unwind from that terrible interview.
Do you think there was a large cocktail involved? Like
I sure
maybe
hope so.
whiskey? Like however they
Maybe.
say, like I need 3 fingers of whiskey or
Well, what goes good with curry?
Oh, I don't know. Everything.
Fair.
Um,
Vodka. Vodka goes with everything. There you go.
that's
A
right.
stiff drink.
Wine, maybe. Some sweeter wine.
Ooh, that's a good one. Anyways, so he calls Murdo. So he's actually the photographer on the assignment with him and tells them about the interview and just how it sucked. Um,
It
so he's
didn't go
talking.
well, man. I gotta be
No.
honest. Actually, it didn't go well, mate. I gotta be honest. Are
Yeah.
we in the UK?
Yeah.
I won't do that again. It bloody sucked. He was a wanker.
There you go. That sounded
Yeah, nailed it.
good. So he was talking to him while he was eating, and that's when a piece of naan gets stuck in his throat.
Oh no. This is my worst nightmare. Like, I'm gonna have to self Heimlich myself on the counter or something. Oh God.
Murdo was on the other line listening and couldn't do anything, but he now hears his coworker is now choking. Simon stumbles over to the bar and forces out the word war.
Oh
so
gosh.
so the waitress was just like, "Oh, okay." So she's just like casually
I'll
pouring
go
him a
grab
glass of
that for
water.
you.
But now the room is starting to spin for Simon, and he knows that he is losing oxygen quickly, and he remembers everything that went through his head. He states, I'm 100 miles away from home, alone. I've had a stand up row with one of Britain's few political giants, and my partner Diane and I aren't married, so she might lose the house because the inheritance tax. What a shit way to die. That's a terrible.
Oh no. Yeah, that's very, I don't know, realistic, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
Yeah.
you just not thinking like your life isn't flashing before your eyes. It's like, well, this is a shitty situation.
Yeah,
Oh
right?
God.
So as he's about to pass out, a waiter wraps his arms around him and performs the Heimlich maneuver. It took 4 good thrusts when the naan flew across the room and his throat was clear.
Oh,
His throat was too scratched to speak, but tried to thank the waiter as best as he could. He sat down and cried and was in shock and just sat there until the restaurant closed.
oh gosh.
He woke up the next day and his ribs were in a lot of pain from all the, thrusting of that waiter.
I
That
would
sounded
have,
weird.
I know, Caitlin. I would imagine that that would probably break some ribs. I
I
mean,
bet it could. Yeah,
and to have enough like thrust to be able to shoot that naan
mhm,
across the room, I mean, that had to be a pretty powerful Heimlich.
absolutely. Well, whenever he moved, it hurt, but he said that was a very small price to pay.
Yeah, I would probably agree with that.
So he returned home and he didn't even tell his family about this incident because he didn't want to worry them, and also they probably wouldn't let him go away for work again.
No, dude, you almost died in the restaurant. You're done.
Yeah,
You're home from now on.
exactly.
Oh, poor guy.
So this is in 2014. So fast forward to March of 2022, which is a very good month, just to say. That's when I got married
Indeed,
this year. So
indeed, indeed.
uh Simon takes his daughter Maya and his friend Priscilla to a London pub to eat. This was the first time Priscilla had been out to eat since the pandemic. So they wanted it to be nice and special and fun.
Yes.
They even got starters and ordered, he said, the best steak in the house.
Mm,
After the
mm.
appetizers, Simon gets a call that his cousin has died.
What?
Yeah, I know. He went
The
outside to call his mom and sister. He returned to the table to see his food has arrived. He describes it as the thickest, juiciest steak you've ever seen. He was talking about the call to the girls and getting a bit emotional as he starts to eat his steak. He chews it, but not enough, and again begins to choke.
Oh, does he have like issues with his swallowing
I
mechanism?
don't know.
Oh my goodness. Like once you
So,
choked once, like now you have
mhm.
the potential to choke at all times.
You know what? I wonder if that's something like once you choke once, it's easier for you to choke again. But I don't know if that's a true. But it sounds, I mean, who knows?
This is
Uh,
very upsetting.
so he knew his time. He knew this time that it wouldn't go down naturally or with water. He goes to the bar, but can't even get words out and losing oxygen very quickly. He points to his back and starts hitting it, miming a plea for help. Simon
I'd want to
said,
do like the put my hands up to my neck. Like
mm,
I'm choking. I don't know.
yep, no, that's a good one. Simon said the trouble is when you're choking, you look batty or dangerous, the kind of person you want to stay away from. And people
Well,
did. They didn't, like, he
yeah,
was
you're
panicking and
panicking.
everyone just like, whoa, dude,
Yeah,
chill.
ooh, who's this guy? What's he doing?
So Priscilla tried the Heimlich maneuver, but didn't have the strength or know how to get out to
Mm.
help. Now Simon is turning blue and his
Oh,
daughter is watching in terror.
oh,
Priscilla, I know. Priscilla screams that he's choking. Everyone in the packed pub looked and stared at him, but no one did anything, just watched him.
oh my God.
Simon thinks he has a minute left before he passes away or passes out.
Oh my God. This is stressful.
He thinks that he had a good life, but he doesn't want to die. Then he feels arms wrapped around him with a clenched fist locked around his abdomen, and then the push and up of the Heimlich maneuver.
The angel arms is what he means
Yeah.
to say.
They did this motion over and over again, and it wasn't until the fifth thrust that the piece of steak shot out. Everyone in the pub clapped. Simon lays on the floor exhausted. Maya was in tears while Priscilla and the waitress helps Simon up.
Oh my God.
He goes outside and sits in silence to kind of gain composure. Once he did, he was able to go back inside to ask who saved him. He meets the man who is responsible, and he told him that he's never done the Heimlich maneuver before, and that it was only when no one else came forward that he thought he'd give it his best shot.
Thank goodness.
Yeah, I know. Simon thought
I feel
that
like I would
being,
have done that. I'd be like,
yeah,
I'm just going in. No one else is. I'm going in.
yeah, no, exactly. Simon thought that being saved from choking once was lucky, twice was tempting fate. Simon thought it was time to learn how to look after himself and others. He watched videos about how to do the Heimlich maneuver on others and a video on how to do it yourself using a chair.
Mm.
According to a recent Office of National Statistic figures, an average of 351 people die every year in the UK due to choking. And I
That's
looked it
quite a
up in the
bit.
yeah, well, I looked it up in the US. I didn't look up an average, but in 2020 in the United States, 4,963 people died of choking. That's a
Wow.
lot,
That
right?
is a lot. My God, I'm gonna start cutting my steak a little bit smaller pieces,
Yeah.
I think.
Simon believes that at least one member of the staff on duty in an eating or drinking establishment should know how to carry out the Heimlich maneuver. Simon states, as for me, I'm off to book a first aid course. I
I
guess.
think in Oregon, you do have to. Like, you have
Oh,
to have so many people have to know, have to have gone through a CPR and first aid
mm-hmm.
course. Like,
There we
so
go.
many, every so many employees, you have to have someone go. So, like, when we worked together, we had to
Mm-hmm.
have like 10
Oh,
different
right.
people, be able to know CPR and first aid
Mm-hmm.
and the AED things or whatever, the defibrillators.
Right.
I'll give it a go.
Right. Yeah.
You're like, that's not what I need at all. Caitlin, be quiet. You don't know.
I'm literally talking to you. Shh. Shh.
Your
So
shirt.
choking
Sorry.
so choking is the
Oh.
fourth leading cause of unintentional injury death.
Oh my God.
Isn't it
Sorry, I'm like a
crazy?
little giddy now from the.
So this story was inspired because recently I was choking.
What?
Yeah.
Oh
So
my God, this is terrifying. So, what's the whole story? What were
so
you
I
eating?
I was having a little rough day and I was talking
Oh,
to Nick about everything, but I was eating sushi at the same time. And
not sushi.
what kind of
Like, don't tell
sushi?
me. Not, no, not sushi. Like, I don't want to hear
Oh,
that you almost died because of sushi.
I did almost die. So it was so weird because the choking it wasn't in my throat, it was like in my chest, but I couldn't swallow it. And I just kept hitting my chest. And I'm like trying to tell him something. And I keep hitting my chest. And he's like, oh my gosh, are you okay? And then I keep hitting my back. Like, I need you to hit my back. And my calm, collected husband, who usually, is chill, he beat the shit out of my back. He was panicking. He was just like slapping it as hard as he could. And now I'm on all fours on the ground, trying to get this out of my chest.
So, can you not breathe at all?
I could breathe a little bit, yeah. But it was so weird. Like I said, it wasn't in my throat, it was in my chest. Like I couldn't swallow it all the way down. I don't know. It was like stuck. And as he's beating it, finally I like cough it up and then I puke it up. And
Oh
he's like, it's
my
okay. It's okay. Is he still hitting me? I'm like, oh, stop hitting me. And I run to the
God.
bathroom and just But it was all it was awful. It was so weird. It was a weird sensation of like, holy shit, like it's
This is
not
it,
good.
man.
Yeah, right? It was uh but I
Well,
choked before as a kid on a mozzarella stick because like the cheese pull was strong on this
oh, and you
mozzarella
like
sticks.
swallowed half of it
Half
and
of it, yeah, and one it got stuck in my throat, and I didn't want to be a burden to my grandparents, so I'm like choking silently in the car in the back. I'm like,
poor little Caitlin.
I'm like, and so luckily the cheese was strong, and I grabbed the cheese and wrapped it around my finger and like pulled it back up, and I
Oh
was
my God.
fine.
Don't worry,
But
grandparents. Don't even, they
don't worry
probably,
about me.
did they
I
even
could do
know like
it.
at all later?
No, I didn't tell them because I didn't want
Oh,
them to worry, and I wanted mozzarella sticks again in my life. So
oh.
So, moral of the story is chew your food. Chew it. Nick was just like, stop talking to me and chew your food. I'm like, okay,
Yeah.
I will
That's
chew
probably why
it.
they don't want you to talk while you're eating.
No, it's
It
true. That's true.
it's
Absolutely.
not
So,
rude, it's for your own safety.
yeah, so please chew your food, everyone. Just take the time. And if you need to complain, have a drink instead.
That it does scare
uh,
me, like especially, when you're home alone or,
mm-hmm.
and you kind of take a little bit too big of a bite or whatever. And it's like, oh my God. I used to do that with bananas as a kid all the
Mm.
time. I don't know what my problem was, but I take these like giant bites and then just be like choking slash gagging and all.
Oh my gosh.
I can't be trusted.
Terrible.
Probably why I don't like bananas to this day. Well, I like to
Bananas are
eat
the worst. So, bleh.
them.
But that's the story of Simon. So luckily he's
I'm glad you're safe. I'm glad.
thank you.
No, I forgot his name. What is it?
Simon.
I'm glad Simon is safe. I should have known that because the whole
Yes.
time I was like, Simon says we could have a game
Oh,
from this.
that's cute.
Yeah, he's probably like, oh, I've never heard that before.
uh, too funny. Well, all right, Michelle, it is your turn.
All right, let me get a little sipper of drink. That probably wasn't wise, knowing how strong these drinks are, but
Seriously.
here we are. All right. Well, this is a pretty recent story. So
Oh,
it's
okay.
May of 2022. So it's just
Nice.
earlier this year. So this story is about Darren Harrison, who has been fishing in the Bahamas. And so now he is getting ready to come home to Florida in a little single engine Cessna. Oh my God. Did I say that
Sounds
right?
good. I don't know. Sounds
Cessna.
good.
Okay. Darren is the only passenger in this sort of six-seater plane. It's a Cessna 208 turboprop, and they're at this point sort of cruising at 12,000 feet above the Atlantic.
Okay.
So it's the pilot's co-pilot, who actually is just kind of a buddy, it sounds like, of the
Hmm.
pilot. Like he's not a pilot himself, but he's up in the co-pilot
Got it.
chair,
Yeah.
and then Darren in the back. So it's a low key flight. He's taking selfies. He's sending them to his wife, Brittany, who's at home, pregnant with their first child. And he was actually in an offshore deep sea fishing tournament in the Bahamas.
No.
So it was more than just like a fishing trip, but it's
Mm-hmm.
around noon. Again, it's early May. The weather is perfect. There's views all over. I mean, it's over the, over the Atlantic, or oh my God, over the Caribbean is what I was trying to say. So
Okay.
it's just, it's gorgeous out. Everything's going well. So the plane is being flown by our pilot, Ken Allen. And Ken is 64 and he's been a pilot for some time. And then again, the co-pilot is his friend, and his friend's name is Russ Frank, who is 70. And again, he's no pilot, he's just there along for the ride. He's having a good time. So the scheduled flight is 75 minutes, and around 45 minutes in, the pilot calls in to the air traffic control and is like, hey, we're getting close. We're about 70 miles, from landing. And so they tell him to descend down to 10,000 feet. And he says, November 333 Lima Delta Roger Miami Center, which is the plane's call sign. And so this comes up like a million times in this story. So I think we'll
Hmm.
just like November 333 or something.
Okay.
Like, I
Fair,
don't
fair.
feel like you want me saying this 1 million times.
Okay.
So we'll just call it, the call sign is November 333 now. A few minutes later, the pilot is still continuing his descent, and the right side of his head starts pounding. Like, and it's just like
Oh,
boom, 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 like every time in his head. And so every time his heart beats, he feels like his head is being hit by a hammer. And so he's like, what the hell is this? And he's like wincing in pain. And out of his right eye, he begins seeing this bright blue lights flashing. And
okay.
he's just like, guys, I don't feel so good. And he kind of to let Harrison and his co-pilot know. And now the pain is super severe and the pounding in his head intensifies. So he's like, his voice is shaking and he's like, everything is fuzzy. And he really, like, for him, he recalls it as being like one of the most scariest moments of his life.
Uh-huh.
And so Harrison in the back seat, of course, or Darren, what should we call him? Darren or Harrison?
Whatever
Okay,
you
I'll
want,
call him
girl.
Darren. Okay.
Okay.
Darren immediately is like, what does that mean? Like, what is going on with you, pilot? And
Uh-huh.
he's like, I don't know. My head is killing him. I don't. And then he stops talking. And Harrison realizes that he is now slumped down in his seat and the plane is careening towards the ocean.
Oh my gosh.
He's like, ah. So Darren manages to undo his seat and he's fighting all the G forces from their
Mm,
steep descent. Yeah, so it's like it's just wanting to pull him back in a seat. So he's
right.
fighting that to get up to the front seat and he's able to sort of stumble up there. Him and the co-pilot are like shaking him and like, hey, wake up, wake up. And he's totally unconscious. The pilot is totally out. So, and the plane is out of control. It is
Oh my God.
plummeting. It's in doing a deep and dizzying dive of 340 miles per hour, like directly.
Oh my gosh.
So yeah, instead of blue sky, now they're seeing the white caps of the waves below.
Oh
And
my
so
gosh.
yeah, and the waves are just getting bigger and bigger as the plane is quickly getting close to them. So now they're at 9,000 feet and then 8,000 feet and 7,000 feet. And all of the Cessna's like alarms are like ding, 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 like do something, something's wrong. So the alarms are going off. And even though Darren has never taken a flying lesson or anything, he just let sort of common sense take over, as he likes to say, and got the pilot out of the way and just slowly started pulling the yoke back to try to gain altitude again, or at least sort
Okay.
of bring it straight. So he knew that you had to do it slowly, which I didn't know. So
Yeah, I had no
so
idea.
I guess if you go too fast, you'll cause the plane to essentially die and crash. Like you won't have any
Whoa.
power. And so you got to
Okay.
sort of bring it up a little more
Slowly. Okay.
gradually. Than I would have been like, yank as hard as I can, like they do in the
Mm-hmm.
movies. That's all where my experience comes from. Yeah, he said if you pull up the yoke too quickly, the motor could stall or the wings could be ripped off. So there's that.
Whoa.
That's not good. So he was sort of squatting. He reaches over the unconscious pilot, grabs the yoke. Frank grabs the other yoke, the co-pilot, and they start slowly sort of getting it back to where they're not in a total free fall. So they're able to actually get it leveled out around 4,000 feet. So, and then they sort of start climbing back up to 9,000 feet.
Oh,
And
wow.
so
Okay.
now they're holding steady.
Mm-hmm.
So they kind of gotten the situation under control. So they actually unbuckle the pilot's seat at that, or unbuckle a seatbelt and just sort of actually get them out of the way now. So the two of
Mm.
them, they get the plane into a good place, get them out of there, and then Darren jumps into the pilot's seat. So he's
Wow.
like, we're going to figure out how to do this thing.
All right, so
Because
now
really
we're
the
going
solution
to
is
skip
die.
over
Yeah.
to the air
Wow.
traffic
What a
control
make it or break
tower.
it
Okay.
situation.
So, and we have air traffic controller Chip Flores, and he's been on duty since about 7 a.m. Again, we're around noon, and it's been a pretty quiet day. I guess the winds had picked up, so a lot of the student pilots and things weren't out and about. So it's been a pretty low key day for Chip. And
Chip
so,
is such a cute name. I love it.
I know it says Flores like throughout the story, but obviously
Oh,
Chip.
yeah,
mean,
cute.
I like it better. So Chip. Anyway, okay. All right. So Chip's quiet gets interrupted when he gets a November 333 Lima Delta, come in. The call sign, of course, from our pilot Alan, but it's not Alan. It's, of course, Darren who's flying the Chip responds and he's like, hey, it's the tower. Of course, he says it a lot more officially. I think I'm just going to maybe not quote this directly. So going forward, I'm just,
Paraphrasing.
of it. Yeah, paraphrasing.
Okay.
Thank you. In my own words. So Darren is like, guys, we've got a serious situation. The pilot is incoherent and unconscious, and I have no idea how to fly an airplane. And so Chip is like, what? So he jumps up from his seat. He hits a button on his console that broadcasts the radio transmission through the whole control tower loudspeakers. Now everyone in the whole air traffic control tower is alerted to the emergency.
Okay.
And so pretty much everyone drops what they're doing and everyone listens.
Oh, I'm
so
sure.
Now I imagine it's very much like a NASA call center from like over in Houston whenever they're calling from the moon or whatever, and everyone's there on their screen.
Mayday. Yeah.
So that's how I like to imagine. It's probably not that at all, but whatever. So Chip asked Darren, he's like, what's your position? And Darren's like, I have no idea. I do see the coast of Florida ahead of me, but that's all. Like, I have no idea. So what Chip does not know is that all of the airplanes screens have actually gone blank. So in the struggle to get the pilot out of the seat, something got switched, which turned off all the screens. So the only thing that's working now is the compass, the altimeter, the attitude indicator, which I guess that's maybe how level you are.
Altitude or attitude?
Attitude. So the altimeter, which is how high you are. And then there's the attitude indicator, which shows whether you're level or not.
I need an attitude indicator with you, Michelle.
I need an attitude indicator with you. Even more. God, kill you.
Continue.
You're not level at all. What do you think of that? All right. What Chip does know, though, is that he may lose radio contact if the airplane continues on its course that is currently on, because it's going to fly out of their sort of radio transmission limits. And of course, he's very much concerned about Darren's, pronouncing that he has no idea how to fly an airplane.
Right.
So these are some concerns that he has. So Chip is like, I'm going to give him a quick flying lesson. That's what's going to happen. He fortunately actually used to be a pilot instructor. So he does have a lot of know-how on teaching people how to fly planes. So that's very fortunate. So he calmly tells them, just try to hold the wings level, see if you can start descending and push forward on the controls and descend at a very slow rate. The whole Chip and the whole air traffic controller team is just like waiting on bated breath for his response. And Darren's like, yeah, now we're descending right now at 550 feet a minute. What heading do I need to be at? And Chip is not able to respond to him because they lose contact.
So, oh my gosh.
So the airplane has flown just beyond the limit of their radio.
Oh my God.
So now Chip is like frantically trying to radio the plane and is like, this is the tower. This is the tower. Are you here? Are you here? Are you here? He says, are you on the frequency? I don't know what the fuck that means. So I'm assuming it's like, are you there? Are you there?
Right.
No.
So inside the plane, Darren and Frank are like, I think we lost contact. I think we went out because every time they wait for Chip's response, it's nothing but static. And so once again, they're on their own. So they're holding the plane steady, and Frank is now trying to frantically figure out where they are. And like, even if they're flying in the right direction. So they're realizing that maybe they're not. So Frank looks out the window and he's like, the coast is over there. We need to go west to get to the airport, because he has been on this flight before. And so Darren nods and kind of slowly turns the plane, sort of going back the other way.
Okay.
Which hopefully brings him back into, radio. Within the radio transmission limits. So Frank is also sort of nudging Alan, our poor pilot, and he's like, hang in there, Ken, hang in there, my friend, and I guess he's moving around a little bit, but for the most part, he's totally unresponsive.
Wow. Okay.
So the plane now flies into the Palm Beach International Airport airspace, and the air traffic controllers over there sort of take over for Chip.
Okay.
And their main mission is to find someone who can teach a passenger who has never flown how to land a plane. They found Robert Morgan. He was sitting outside. He was reading a book on his break, and he was an air traffic controller and also a flight instructor. And so he hears his page, and he was like, "We need you in here immediately." So he ends his break and heads on in. And they're like, "Hey, we've got passengers flying a plane and the pilot's unconscious. Can you help us land?" And he's immediately thinking like, are you guys serious? This is like a movie. This doesn't actually happen. He sits down at the radar scope. I'm assuming that's a little screen that's like bleep, bleep, and shows the plane in the area.
Yeah.
Welcome for my sound effects and
bleep, bleep. Good.
I know. He's like, what am I going to tell this guy? So he ends up radioing to the Cessna, and he's like, we're going to try to get you down in the Boca Raton airport. Like, we got you. We're going to help you. And Darren's like, I'm not a pilot. Oh my God, I can't talk.
Please drink responsibly.
I know. Those drinks are out, and I only had one. If I was with you, I would have too, and not been able to drive home, I think. God. Okay. Darren responds, I'm not a pilot and my screens are black. And he's like, no problem. I want you to make a shallow turn towards the north and hold steady at 3,000 feet. And so he's like, okay. So Darren tries to kind of follow what he says. And he's like, Morgan's like, you're looking good. You're doing great. Keep on going. And pretty much he's just really trying to reassure him. He's like, don't worry, I'm here for you. And just being very calm and being, we're going to get you through this. So he tells him to maintain his height at 3,000 feet, start to make that shallow turn. And apparently, if you turn too steeply, you will just cause the plane to swirl and crash into the ocean in this case. Like, it makes me never want to fly in a plane again.
No, absolutely not.
Especially a little one, forget it. Like, you overcorrect a little bit and boom, you're dead. You do this other thing, boom, you're dead. Forget it. Anyway, so all the while Morgan is helping Darren sort of bring his plane in closer, all the people at the actual airport are like jumping into action. So they're all ready for an emergency. Like, they're bringing in the ambulances, they're sort of evacuating the runway in case it doesn't go well when he lands. There's tons of emergency responders all over the place. So up in the plane, Darren and Frank are like glued to their headsets, listening to the instructions on how to land the plane. So they're like scanning the ground, looking for landmarks, trying to familiarize themselves with where they are. And Darren sort of is practicing controlling the altitude by like sort of pushing the yoke forward and going down a little bit and then pulling it up and going up a little bit, so he can just sort of get a feel for the airplane a little bit more, which is probably smart.
Yeah.
So now we're like 6 miles south of the airport. And they're like, you should start seeing the airport straight ahead, and you need to descend down to 2,000 feet. So Darren is able to descend actually pretty easily. But Morgan is starting to grow concerned because he's going too fast. Like the plane is going way too fast for a safe landing. So, and there's the wind that we talked about earlier. I guess there's 28 miles per hour crosswinds that are all swirling around, and it can make a small plane difficult to land. It can throw it off course, I guess, really easily. So he tells them to make a slight turn west to, I guess, kind of accommodate for it. You're just gonna, pretty much, we're gonna bring you down out of the west, give you more time to get lower and get yourself lined up perfectly with the runway. And so he sort of makes his way down and sort of makes his approach to the giant runway. I guess this runway is huge. It's probably for big airplanes, like, normal commercial jets.
Right.
So they're like, we're going to slow you down. You need to use this black throttle control and pull that back and keep your speed at 110 knots. Probably more details than you care to know.
It sounds good to me. I mean, I don't understand it all.
You're doing great. So he's actually able to get it slowed down, and like everyone in the air traffic control tower is like glued to their radar screens, like watching him come in. And he got his speed under control. As he's starting to get to the end, he's like, I don't know how to use the brakes.
Oh my gosh. Well, yeah.
What do I do when I land? And he's like, you just when you get on the ground, you put your feet on top of the pedals and apply a little bit of pressure. And he's just like, you got to be gentle. And he's just super calming through the whole thing, as denoted by my calm voice.
Right.
Yeah, obviously.
Good job.
What he doesn't mention is that putting too much pressure on the brakes too early can blow a tire, and then you can go careening off the fucking runway.
Damn.
So it's like one more other thing that can go wrong. So he goes down 600, 500, 400 feet. He's doing great. He's about a mile away, 300 feet up, and he's on target to land. And then all of a sudden, the plane disappears from the radar of all of them. And they're like, are you still there? Are you still there? And then 10 seconds later, he's like, I'm here. I'm on the ground.
What?
It's like, yeah, somehow they like lost connection. All of their radar screens blacked out, and for about 10 seconds. And then all of a sudden he was on the ground. And he's like, how do I stop this thing? And he's like, just use the toe brakes gently. And so he was able to like slow it down. And then everyone like bursts out and cheers, and it's all amazing. And you've done it. And
I'm just saying, my heart rate is like 102 right now.
Oh, sorry. No, it's
scary.
Like, in fact, he kind of, Darren sort of jokes. He's like, do you want me to taxi this thing off the runway? Like,
oh my gosh.
It's all safe. And everyone was like, this guy is incredible. So Darren ended up saving the day. So ambulances, let's go to our pilot again.
Yeah. Oh,
ambulances were there to meet Alan and rush him to the nearby Palm Beach Gardens Medical Center. And he was diagnosed with aortic dissection, which is a tear in the inner layer of the aorta, which is often fatal. So,
oh my gosh.
His aorta burst kind of. And so doctors operated immediately, and he's expected to make a full recovery. So,
oh my gosh. This story is just everywhere. My gosh.
I know. Oh. No, yeah. So he had like a little tear in his main artery there, or is that a heart chamber? Oh fuck, I don't know the parts of the heart. I forgot them.
I don't know either. So as long as they work, right?
Yeah. Good point. So that's apparently, don't ignore if you have a pounding like a hammer and see flashing blue lights. Call 911 immediately.
I guess. I feel like that's a migraine for me.
No, I was like, I feel like I'd probably ignore that.
Right.
But I don't usually pass out from my headaches. So
that's true. I don't pass out as well. So that would telltale sign. Wow. The fact that I think really when that guy stayed so calm, like you're doing great, giving him really clear instructions, I think that is very helpful. Because if I'm in a panic situation and I have my husband just like, you know what? This is good. here's our options. I'm like, okay, it's gonna
I'm gonna
be
hit you on the back really hard.
yeah, that's right. You're not gonna die, bitch. Not on my watch. So
Thank you,
no, yeah.
Nicholas.
Yeah. I think that's it's hard to stay calm and collected though, because if I was flying a plane, I had no idea what I was doing. I would panic. If it was you and me in the plane,
Oh,
so
could you even fucking imagine? I'd be crying in the corner and you'd be like, bitch, do something. Can you at least look for the
oh my
land?
gosh.
Oh,
Oh my gosh. No, I don't really like flying. Like, I don't know. It's just
well, now we
stressful.
really
The whole
don't like it.
situation's stressful, man. That's why my heart rate probably went up because I'm like, oh, I couldn't even imagine being in
That's
that
hilarious.
situation.
Well, just those little small prop planes have always kind of given me pause already. I've never actually flown in a plane that small. And I don't know, in
Right.
all the movies, those are the ones that crash. So
Right. No, no, absolutely. Yeah. Scary, man. Ugh.
good
Terrible. But that's a
times.
great story. And that happened this year. That's crazy.
Yeah, and everyone survived.
And everyone is
So
good.
no, he said he just used a lot of common sense, which is good.
Yeah.
And, he kept a steady head through it and knew he could not die because he had his wife with their unborn daughter at home. And it's just like, I'm not leaving them
Oh,
behind. So
how
I know.
sweet. My goodness.
Serious. Crying all over.
Seriously. Those
Well
are really
done,
good
Darren.
stories. My goodness.
Ah.
So don't eat and don't fly. I don't know. So
Yes.
you make sure you eat. Just chew your
And
food.
maybe don't even drink because if oh my God, my storytelling had anything to do with it. Oh no. Oh, I'm sorry,
Uh,
Caitlin.
it's so funny.
It's time to
That's
wrap.
great.
Merry Christmas. Goodbye.
Merry Christmas, goodbye. Oh my goodness. Those are great stories to kick off the Christmas season. I don't know.
I know. Maybe.
Rough. I mean, everyone survived. That's the point. Everyone survives. So it's
Everyone
always a
survives. We
happy
had
ending,
peppermint in
right?
our drink. We're ready to go.
You can't go wrong with peppermint. You can't go wrong with peppermint. Love it.
No.
I don't
Have you
know. I
bought
may
any
love, huh?
have you bought any peppermint vodka?
I still have 4 bottles from last year because I had so many people bought them for me because they know I love it so much. And then I've been hoarding it for the whole year. So I have like 4 bottles now. So,
Time to break those babies out.
oh yeah. No, no, no. I'm very excited. That's the thing. I'm like, I think I like peppermint more than pumpkin spice, which is weird for me to say, but oh,
I think I
ugh.
also like peppermint more than pumpkin spice. I'm going to be
Yeah.
honest with you.
Well, I know we talked about that last time, you and your pumpkin. Meh. You
No,
don't
it's
like
Joel that
pumpkin.
doesn't like pumpkin.
Last episode, you said you're not really a fan of pumpkin. And I'm like, what kind of basic white bitch are you for not liking pumpkin
Oh,
spice?
no, I don't like pumpkin pie. So I guess,
Oh,
yeah, maybe I like pumpkin loaf. I just like, if I have a choice between apple pie and pumpkin pie, I'm going apple every
okay.
time.
Okay.
Yeah, like
Okay.
it's time to
Okay.
go.
It
Goodbye.
is time to go. Let's wrap this up. So we hope you enjoyed this episode and please have a safe holiday season. And
I'm
we'll see you
sorry I
guys
got
next
so
time.
drunk.
Yeah, right. Be careful with these drinks. All right. Goodbye.
Bye.